right.
Welcome everyone. Episode 4 of 1 Million Minds of trends that we see in blockchain and all deep tech. Welcome, Balaji. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing fabulous. It's been an excellent week, and I think it's warm today, so I'm happy.
Yeah, it's definitely rainy. I'm in Austin. It's rainy and cloudy. It was definitely like thundering. Now everything's cleared up, so to right in time for our talk. But we have a very, very interesting session today. Balaji is continuing his theme of fundamental things we are looking at in the blockchain space, especially how important a bear market is for builders and how some of these projects are actually leveraging existing technology to make sure they usually are using the money they're collecting from VCs and stuff and using the right way to build a product. So I'm excited about that topic. And then after Balaji's done, I want to talk about a couple of things that I see that are amazing in the AI space. And where is the money going in the blockchain space? There's a great report from Masari, so I deep dove into that and looked at some big VCs in the space and where is the money going? So whether bear market, bull market, if you follow the money, you can tell where the opportunities are and where the builders are building for the next 3 to 5 years. So I'm excited about sharing everything I found with you guys. But let's start with the Balaji topic because it's super exciting. So Balaji, let's kick us off.
Excellent. All right, let me get my screen here. All right, today I'm continuing with this Web3 topics and trying to see what other foundational elements are being built in this bear market to fuel the next growth phase. So one such project I learned about is Eigen layer. This is established, like this is from Layer Labs, just established 2021, got funded. The founder is Sriram Kannan. I think he is a professor, assistant professor in University of Washington. So the core idea here is, okay, so now we started with Bitcoin, the trust layer got built, the decentralized trust. Then came Ethereum, which added the programmability, or it kind of had this explosion on the programmability side. Now here we are with a lot more Ethereum competitors and other type of blockchains. And now it's taking a holistic view of, okay, what's happening in the marketplace, what's inefficient. I think one of the things they found that it's kind of fractured is the trust layer that's being built is not getting reused or repurposed because of certain shortcomings. And how can we cater to that so everything is much more efficient, leveraging the same trust? So this project essentially aims to take the Ethereum trust layer and help people leverage it again to other projects, so they don't have to go create their own trust layer or spend money in marketing and other things to get that going before they even start building on top of it. So that's essentially
Yeah, that's
the
very interesting because I think the concept I was reading about this is if Ethereum is one of the best security layer in trust, why are you trying to reinvent the wheel, right? So you basically are trying to leverage existing platforms so that you can focus your time and energy on the actual use case that you're building. So that makes a lot of sense.
correct. Yeah. So this slide basically summarizes. So we started with Bitcoin, just kind of pioneered decentralized trust layer, but it also came with a very limited programmability. So it basically that's the origin of things, right? So then came Ethereum. So with Ethereum, we have the Ethereum virtual machine, the smart contracts, and programmable money, and everybody built that like dApps on top of it, leveraging those in the Ethereum ecosystem, right? That's the second iteration. And so now, when we look at the marketplace, this is what is happening, right? So now dApps have gone beyond just the Ethereum ecosystem, and they want access to oracles, bridges, side chains. And so there are a lot of these projects that are getting spun, let's call them middleware, which have their own trust network. So what happens is the dApps, which is kind of the uh, Web3 usability layer, you want to call it, is now inheriting lot of these disparate trust layers. If you are using 3 or 4 of these, now your security is only the whatever is most vulnerable or least secure among these different middleware. And more often than not, I think people who interact with the dApps have no visibility what's underneath. So you don't even know. You might think it's you're inheriting Ethereum security, but in reality, you could be inheriting other weaker links in the chain because the dApp kind of uses all these services. Um, so that's the state of how it is right now, right? So let's bring the idea of eigenlayer. It's kind of a very simple idea here, which basically says, okay, why not create that new layer which lets you stake or restake whatever you put into Ethereum Trust with additional, what do you call, slashing penalties, right? So essentially, you're leveraging again. So you're the first level of leverage or whatever your earning capabilities with Ethereum, and then you take that and you adapt or you sign up for more risk for getting more reward again. So it's kind of a leverage play. So you can call it in a way you're leveraging your trust again for more risk reward profile. So when that happens, so whatever you build on top of this eigen layer kind of inherently takes the Ethereum trust layer, whoever wants to restake to this particular application that you're building can flow from the Ethereum trust layer. There are a lot of advantages to this whole approach, but I think that's the basic idea. How can you take how is this done, right? Essentially what they are doing is just when you stake, you own the right to withdraw, right? And basically you are giving that away to the eigen layer, so it kind of holds that right away from you. So if there are other penalties, it'll impose using that kind of a right to withdraw or slashing or whatever will happen in that layer. So it's again another tier of smart contracts which kind of borrows your right to withdraw even more, right? So eventually, kind of you're transferring away your. It's like a second mortgage type of thing, right? You're just giving more and more out to get more rewards, type of thing. Um, that's the basic idea here. Any thoughts, Rajni?
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, now you will leverage what is how much billions are in Ethereum and the infrastructure that's been built with so many now proof of stake nodes. Why, if you have a chassis for a good one to build a car, why do you want to recreate it, right? So it makes
Right.
sense. So my question mostly is Eigenlayer, if I'm saying it right, is providing that, or are they also building apps on it, or they're just acting as a layer that
They
helps you leverage Ethereum trust?
Right. So basically, what they have come up with is a mechanism by which validators can restake their Ethereum. Right. So that's their
Okay.
foundation layer. Now, to prove that out, I think they've also built another product called Eigen DA or data availability layer to prove, okay, now this data availability layer uses this restaking layer to show how this all
Okay.
works. But I think the goal here is to invite more people to leverage this feature, so they don't have to go fund this new trust layer, right? I think that's what you call the zero marginal cost of capital or opportunity cost. You don't want to just split your money in 10 different things that way. So
So how do they make money? So really, they're simplifying using Ethereum's trust and security, right? That's really, if
right.
I had to summarize it. So how do they? So do they make money from a transaction purpose if somebody's using their layer? Or how do they stay in business?
Right. That's one other. Again, there is no token to start with, right? So there is no
Okay.
tokenomics. So I think this is one of those projects which kind of promotes Ethereum value chain, right?
Right.
So I think the hope here is, I think probably I was trying to find out who was funding this project, but it's not clear. It says private funding. But essentially, what's happening is that it kind of promotes the Ethereum value to go up. So what happens in the future, right? For example, let's say Ethereum, you want to build something else because you don't like the way the consensus works in Ethereum, or ordering, or whatever new thing you want to invent, you're building it. So now you have a choice rather than going and building the trust network. The hope is that particular model comes into this one and eventually leverages the Ethereum, and essentially more people stake in Ethereum. It kind of creates this loop. The value of Ethereum network itself goes up, but it's not very clear in terms of how exactly this eigenlayer benefits. I'm guessing probably they're building their own layer on top, like Eigen data availability layer, right? So that is probably what is going to bring in more revenue, or maybe they'll build more products on this Eigen layer. That's going to bring, but the layer itself is not going to be the money maker, right? So what you build on top, the goal is what you build on top is going to be the money maker.
So they're just making the onboarding of folks dApps onto Ethereum a lot more easier, because two things: your trust and your basically your security is taken care of with this. So what are the building blocks you need to put on it? So they're just leveraging it. Maybe they have a lot of big bags of Ethereum that helps them if they onboard more people on that. But
correct,
right? This is great. These are
right. So I think the hope here is maybe, they invest in Ethereum, and eventually the hope is a lot of those projects migrate into Ethereum to use this layer or trust layer, right? That's one way to make more money. The other way is probably they build their own middleware on top of Eigenlayer and provide services, right? So what happens then is Ethereum staking will come into their projects too, right? Through this. So that's another easy way of getting money into the new project, right? So that's I think that's a neat idea as well.
That is pretty cool.
So that's basically it. And the second picture here is basically, I think 13 billion. I think right now it's 19 billion staked, total value locked in Ethereum. So how this eventually will get divided up among, again, the future, far down, if this works out, I think everyone will participate in every one of these successful projects. So it kind of evens out the distribution of trust. So it's not like pockets of trust type of thing.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, okay, so the staking heterogeneity is another. So now when you take it apart, see what is this eigenlayer going to bring to the table, right? So there are two things that are currently in the system, the heterogeneous forms of staking, right? When you say staking heterogeneity, the risk reward profile of these people are not homogeneous, right? Some people might have appetite for more risk, so thereby they want more reward, and some may be very conservative and they're like, okay, I'll stake in Ethereum and I'm happy with whatever 5%, and it's like a savings account type of thing. So this brings little bit of that into play, right? So basically people who have appetite for more risk can leverage again into other projects using the same Ethereum they hold, thereby participating in a different crypto economic model type of thing. So the example here shows where it sits just on top of the trust layer, and then you can see other layers coming in a modular fashion built on top of it, depending on your application. You can customize, but the foundation is Ethereum's trust network and how you can basically use it again and again and again.
That is cool.
That's
I mean, it's similar to, I won't say similar, but like a layer 2, which is building on top of Ethereum layer. Yeah,
it's a layer. Yeah, it promotes another layer 2 on top of it. It's kind of probably you can. I try to conceptually. It's not a layer 2. Maybe it's an invisible layer that helps bring funding or staking into the project. Right. It's not a blockchain.
It helps onboarding of more. Yeah, makes sense.
Right.
Just as long as if you don't have to be super technical to, like, for example, I'm a technical right now. I think most of the Web3 or blockchain are very technical founders. But if somebody has a great idea and they can onboard into a web to a blockchain, leveraging some of these modules because they're more of a business person. I think some of these with the almost I'm call it like if you compare it to the Web 2 world where there's no code is becoming popular, can
Right.
they leverage some of these modules to really just focus on a business problem rather than figuring out all the blockchain infrastructure?
You're right. I think that's the next aspect, right? So the agility versus democracy, right? So I think
Mhm.
the extreme is the network where everything has to be voted by a large community of people and it's slow moving, right? How can you bring the best of democracy plus agility in development, right? I think this is where these guys are focusing on in terms of, okay, we can bring this. And how do they do that, right? I think it's promoted by a couple of things, right? So one of the thing is the, like we discussed, how to easy onboarding of that leveraged trust into the new project. So thereby you don't want to spend all that time. The second portion is what I'll try to explain what I understood. So the block space and block limit, which is kind of another parameter in the Ethereum blockchain itself. So in other words, I think the block limit is whoever is the lowest bandwidth node in the Ethereum system kind of sets that lowest bar, right? So if you have 1 megabit or 10 megabit, and there could be others with 1 gigabit, but still you need to make sure that 1 megabit person is still able to participate in a validation, right? So,
Yeah.
so what this kind of the Eigen layer helps is that assist all those people with additional bandwidth to take that time and space and contribute to other projects indirectly. So I think what's happening right now is everybody's competing in terms of gas fees to get to that, right? So that's the current model, right? You pay more, you get into the block faster type of thing. This kind of changes it where it gives those validators additional incentives so they can focus in a leveraged fashion in other places. So it's not the what do you call fighting for the gas fees type to get into the block type of thing. So that's another advantage here by promoting restaking.
Makes sense.
So I think some of the uh, advantages is Ethereum can focus on governance for long-term growth, and anyone can permissionlessly add features in the fast innovation. I think that's the summary of it. So we get to the last slide. I'm trying to summarize what we discussed, right? So eigenlayer is a mechanism by which the Ethereum trust can be leveraged and directed to other modules, right? In a proof of stake world, I think the dominant cost is the cost of capital or the opportunity cost. So like, essentially, you're taking your money and staking it and hoping that it continues to return at certain rate. So merge staking or restaking is amortizing or distributing that to other projects. So that's the one way to look at it. Um,
Mhm.
so again, take a current Ethereum stake and subject it to additional slashing conditions. So more risk, thereby more reward. Um, Restaking is done by assigning your withdrawal credential to Eigenlayer instead of giving it to yourself. So thereby they can facilitate that additional slashing if that ever happens. Um, Try to get a balance with agility and democratic concepts of crypto economy. And also promote staker heterogeneity. Now, people who have more risk appetite can participate in a different risk profile. And that's pretty much it.
Perfect. Yeah, that was very interesting for sure. Just learning like how where the builders are focused in the bear market, right? I think out of the in the next 6 months to 12 months, we'll see a lot of really unique models coming out, and this is I think it's a good foundation layer. So thank you for introducing us to that.
Yeah, if it gets successful, I think more projects migrate into or start building on top of this. I think it'll keep the value chain within Ethereum ecosystem, right? So it doesn't
Agree.
get fractured. I think that's one of the big fears, right? So how the the money is going to move to the competitors, right? This is helping bring it back.
Perfect.
All
That
right,
was great.
let's
All right. So
Let's switch to you.
uh, yeah, I want to start with my kids do YouTube channels, and we are always searching for unique thumbnails, right? There's always this crazy scared face and thumbnails that attract click throughs. So when we're
Right,
going through the process, we've found there are you can buy stock pictures, or you have to pay for it, or you can take your own picture. Sometimes my kids are young, so they've never shown their face on a YouTube video, but they
true.
still wanted to get some interesting pictures, right? So that's the rabbit hole I was diving into when I found about Dolly, stable diffusion. But then so what it does is basically generative AI. What that means is the algorithms are take into account all the images that are out in the world, and then you can use text to basically say, hey, I want an image that looks like the a Picasso painting, but it's of a dog playing soccer, right? Those are you
Right,
basically give text because the algorithm is now quote unquote analyze all the pictures available on the internet. They know so it'll spit out an image, an original image that is built on a foundation of all the images that it's seen, right? So if you, of course cat images are one of the most popular images. So it's the and you use cat focused things, the images come out beautifully. So anyway, going down the rabbit hole, we found a generative AI for images have come a long way. There's Dall, there's stable diffusion, there's other companies popping up all over the place. But really, what it's going to do is, I'm just saying a very simple use case, right? There's so many use cases we'll go through that image creations will help, but it doesn't stop with images. There's images. Now you can do videos. Imagine making your own storybooks. You just have to write it, and then a video is generated for it. But one of the
right.
coolest thing I've heard about is music. Everybody has a preference for music. So imagine being able to load just the music preference you like. Let's say you like Indian music, you like a specific band, and you tell the algorithm, hey, this is the kind of music you like. And you say, I'm in the mood for listening to this. And you come up with your own tunes or music that you like that could be now captured as an NFT and sold if you wanted to, and royalties are given a little bit to to you and some to the artists that were inspirational from. So my mind is
It's
blown how
interesting.
far this can go,
So you mean
right?
to
So
say that the algorithm is actually taking samples from different artists' music and comes up with its own
yes,
cocktail of music? Okay, interesting.
yes. And then the next step is what GitHub is doing, right? They have an AI companion. So, for example, if you're a brand new rookie developer and you had somebody kind of helping you along the path, right now it's very simple. You can say, hey, help me finish this code, and it comes up with the Python code or whatever code you need to do a certain
Right,
function.
right.
So, if you think through this, this is early on that it can do its own videos, own images, own coding, own music. Imagine all the use cases that is possible. So generative AI is, in a nutshell, is what I just talked through. We'll go into a little more details. And then on the other side, I'm always curious to see where so it's a down market, it's a bear market, but where is the money? Still money is being raised, money is being invested by top funds. So I want to talk to where are some of the common themes or investment theses most of these funds have to go through their investments. So starting
Awesome.
with generative
Fun
AI,
topic. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm not going to go through every one of them, but if you see what I talked through this text base, so right now also I didn't even realize it was generative AI, but I wanted to write articles for Medium. You want to write scripts for your videos that you wanted to just support chat. For example, when you talk to somebody in a chat, most probably you're talking to AI before, and then they will answer basic questions. At a certain point, when they can answer is when you're connected to a real agent. So all this is happening right now. And then code generation is what's exciting to me. Imagine being able to somebody who's has no idea concept of writing code, being able to just say something or write in the text form, and the AI creates a code for you. Will it be
Right,
as good as an expert coder? No, but sometimes you don't need that to build maybe an MVP or just get started on some of the ideas. So,
right.
an image generation, we just talked through it. You can use it from design to healthcare to consumer, let's say you never want to, and a lot of people nowadays prefer to be anonymous, so they can create an image of a person who never existed before and use that as their even LinkedIn picture. So it is amazing. And then there's voice that we just talked through that, video too, right? You can actually, like, my kids love writing stories. So imagine putting that into the AI and it spits out the video. But you have to get a little creative, right? The sky was dark because and the rain was coming, and this kid was walking down the street. All that now gets converted into a video. So every kid, instead of having to just be told a story, they can create their own little movie. So it just blows my mind that all the capabilities here, gaming and music and audio, touched upon a little bit. The task that what AI can do now is mind blowing. So imagine fast forwarding 10, 20 years, where things are going. So I'm excited about this topic. So let me get your initial reaction to what you think about it.
Yeah, this is, I think, this brings to my attention what other, I mean, I always thought, I knew that a lot of news content is getting generated by computers, right? And I also got exposure to image side, but coding and speech and video, I mean, these are all things that I think I can see how with a text input or saying out things what you want done, and the computer creates that in a very rich format. How appealing that is, even for kids or who wants to create those. I think this is very, very interesting. It opens up a lot of possibilities.
Absolutely. So just some companies that are in this space. This is again from a consumer startups newsletter. So if you look at it, I think a lot of people at least should be aware of what's happening in GPT text. That was like the first open model that was available to a lot of people. So you can put in and say, hey, I need you to write an article in this format for where's blockchain going? And then it spits out some stuff, right? So if you have writer's block or you just don't know where to start, you can use that as your starting point. But the second side of this is now students can write essays for schools using this concept. So you and I, we have to stay up and write these.
Interesting.
Now, right? This can be done. So what is opening is now the other side of so plagiarism is copying, right? But this is
right.
AI generated, so it's not really plagiarism. But there are people on the other side now which can AI that can actually analyze the text you wrote and tell whether it was written by you or by a computer. So it's crazy that both sides of the spectrum are growing. So
that's going
chat,
for
QA,
teachers too. Yeah.
So imagine this. So there's a lot of companies in the space. I copy Jasper, Replicas. Replica is something that's very exciting for me. Basically, Replica is an AI companion. I played around with it.
Is it like an assistant? It's like a virtual assistant?
No, it's actually a friend. That's what's interesting about it. Basically, let's say you were like where it started. I think the owner started with one of their best friends or his wife passing away, and then they created one, fed all the parameters that made it respond just like their friend. So it sounds creepy, right? But
it's like the mini me. It's like the mini me.
So if you wanted to talk to, let's say there's a replica of Steve Jobs, imagine being able to have a conversation with them, right? Gotcha. Because I know that the Joe Rogan interviewing Steve Jobs as a podcast was the entire thing is on YouTube right now. If you go search for Joe Rogan interview studio, this is after he died. It just came out. The algorithm was fed all of the podcasts that Joe Rogan did, all of the public speeches that Steve Jobs did, and then there's a conversation between them. It is
interesting,
amazing where things are going. So anyway, that's the voice indentation that uses some of the words that were used in his previous speeches, but it sounds, even with the pause and talking, everything happens, right? So it's basically two people talking that is completely created by AI. It's amazing. So image, I think we talked about Stable, Diffusion, Dall, speech and video. There's just a bunch of stuff happening in this space. Any feedback on, not feedback, anything that jumps out at you as something that you would be interested in looking at?
Yeah, I think there's a lot a lot of things here that I think kind of opens up certain possibilities, right? So when you talk about the thing like taking somebody's past mannerisms and personalities and creating them in a virtual world, like it's almost like a deep fake type of a model. Um, it's very interesting and scary at times, right? So you don't know which one is real, which one, if you're alive and if you're able to spider or copy all their podcasts and create new ones without their permission type of thing. Um, so that's one thing, right? So I'm just thinking out loud, like how far the goodness is on the one side, but how far the bad people will utilize these kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be a new one. So that's where the checks and balances, again, using AI will come into say is this a real video? Is this a deep fake video, right? So that will also be not be done by humans. It will be another algorithm that validates that these are actual real life things, right? So to
Yeah.
me, two things that jump out and I'm being very interested is a concept like replica, like creating a friend, just for the Indian market. That's what I was very interested in is do you know that the proportion of men versus women is a little out of whack in Indian culture for so what happens is there's a lot of loneliness among young men and not being able to have a companion to talk to. So
Gotcha.
even have a friend and so imagine being able to have your own little friend
Talk like a
who you
talking
kind of
buddy,
feed
right?
it
Yeah.
to, yeah, and then you talk to, and what if that friend was just more of a, let's just say, a long distance girlfriend, or what if that friend was a business mentor? You could build it based on the replica or the character was built based on everything Elon Musk does. So it's like almost having a conversation with them. That's one side, right? The other side is what about our dead heroes like a MGR or somebody else, right? Imagine being able to make a whole movie because you have all the movies that he's acted in the algorithm. So I feel like it is going to
Yeah.
be, to your
It
point,
gives
you may be able to
yeah,
tell the
it
difference.
gives instant accessibility to that particular role model, right? Basically, you
Yeah,
want to call it a role model or you want to call it a friend, but yeah, having that access is very critical because sometimes that's the problem, right? Even if you have some therapist or somebody else who's assisting you, the availability is the big question, right? If the
yeah,
machine can assist in the time of need and when you're feeling lonely or whatever, I think that's a good thing.
yeah. Man, I can forget it, but Japan, there was a, what is that box? It's something box. Anyway, there's an AI friend, and that little character wakes you up, or sets your temperature, just like a smart thing, but also texts you little things like, "How's your day going? Like, how are you doing? I'm so glad you're home." Just little things like there's a lot of Japanese
Correct.
men who are single and they don't get married. There were 2,000 file certificates for someone who wants to get married to this artificial intelligent being in Japan, right?
Jeez.
Japan's are
Okay.
usually 20, 30 years ahead of everything else that the rest of the world does. So all I'm saying is that trend of a virtual friend, maybe we won't go to the concept of getting married, but that trend is not going away, is what I'm going with this. So it's very interesting how far we have come. So all
And
right.
the ability to personalize it is the key, right? How fine
Yes.
tuned personality can you build out of it? Because each person is different and they like different type of things. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's just a communication style, right? So some people say the language you love, some people like to be more blunt about your feedback. So boggles my mind how personalized the language could be personalized. The person's voice could be personalized. Okay, I like this specific Hindi heroine's voice, or or some old, what I'm saying, like it's just it's gonna become very interesting. I'm just excited to see where the space goes in the next 4 or 5 years. All right, switching topics. So what I did was I did a lot of research, read a lot of Reddit forums, and a lot of investment theses from a bunch of VCs that are investing in this space. But I think a good starting point is a Masari report um, where they break down where is the money going, top three areas of investments in blockchain, right? So the smart contract platforms is where the 37% of all investments being made is a high level of smart contract platform, but 40% of it is being made in the DeFi space. So there's breakdowns in within the DeFi where the money's going, but high level, a big chunk of our money the VCs are investing is going into space. And then the other one that I found across all the investment theses of all the VCs was the Web3 infrastructure. So there's a lot. of money going to the space too. So if you are a newcomer to the space and you're wondering where do I focus on, you always follow the money. So if you are a builder in this market, I'll be looking at smart contract platforms, opportunities in the DeFi and infrastructure. Just because I don't see Web3 going away anywhere, but being able to build in this where you can actually have access to resources and kind of set you up for the next 2 3 years is where I'll focus on.
Absolutely.
So
This is very useful. Yeah, for anyone who's going to start in this space. Yeah, great.
yeah. So I looked into a few funds just to kind of get the concept of where are the money. So Electric Capital is one of the bigger ones that I found. They've raised about a 1 billion funding, and they really are focused on Dall, NFTs, DeFi, of course, infrastructure, and then how do we get more people onboarded into Web3? So that's from investment thesis. That's where they're allocating their money. So I'll just go through. Pantera was another big capital investor in this space. And if you can see, almost DeFi and infrastructure is like a common across all of them. But some of them, like Pantera, likes the gaming and the NFT space a little bit more. And the last one I looked at was multi-current capital. And they are also, if you look at it, when they say open finance, it's basically DeFi, Web3 infrastructure, proof of work, and DAO. So that's a 430 million. So there's the broad themes I saw are definitely the top three, Masari, where the investments are going. And the space that is very interesting to me is the DeFi space and the infrastructure. Like some of the things you've talked through is basically that layer of infrastructure that is getting built. And there's a lot of investments going in there. So I'm excited about seeing this. Maybe we can deep dive into some of these themes and theses we see. Where do we see DeFi? DeFi is its own world, right? I think that we talked before we started is if you look at where the students in some of these colleges, it's funny because the blockchain classes are getting more oversubscribed than computer science classes in some of these colleges, right?
Gotcha.
And then there's student organizations that are popping up in every one of these colleges. If you look at, there's a report on it, where they're focusing energy on. 40% of all of them are focused on NFTs, and 40% is DeFi, about 38% NFTs, about 10 or 15% in Bitcoin and other smaller slivers. But if you can see where is the energy and the excitement is mostly in the NFT and DeFi space from a student body perspective. But if you look from top down, from where the money the VCs are investing, it's infrastructure, DeFi, and smart contract platform. So that gives you a good layout glance if you're an investor or a builder. You can at least understand where's the industry going. So it's exciting.
Exciting. Yeah, a lot of useful material here. Thank you.
Absolutely. So thank you all for tuning in this week. We have a lot more in-depth analysis. We'll talk to you guys in the next couple of weeks. And Balaji, thank you for your time. Any things you want to say before we wrap up?
Another wonderful episode. I think that's a good mix of material. Hopefully it helps the viewers. Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you guys. See you next time.
All right, bye.